Hello there, my name is Judy, and I'm 38 years old. Something completely unbelievable happened to me a few months back, and I've felt the need to share it ever since. But first, let me give you a bit of background about me. My parents died when I was very young, leaving me without any family able to care for me. As a result, I ended up moving from one foster home to another until I turned 19, and could start my life on my terms. I've always been alone, with no siblings or close family ties. Despite these challenges, I worked tirelessly to support myself and even managed to earn a college degree. Eventually, I landed a decent job, which allowed me to live a comfortable life. For the first time in a while, I was genuinely content. Things took an even better turn about 12 years ago when I met my now ex-husband Bobby on a dating app. To be honest, I wasn't initially keen on him. I was only on the dating apps because I felt lonely and didn't have high hopes. Even after matching with Bobby, I only chatted with him to kill time. Agreeing to a date was more about not having any other plans than actual interest. However, that all changed when we met in person. Bobby was incredibly kind and funny, capable of both making me laugh and engaging in deep conversations. I was taken aback by how much I enjoyed his company, leading to more dates and eventually a serious relationship. After about a year, I felt it was time to meet Bobby's family, considering it the natural next step for us. But when I brought it up, Bobby shut it down without giving any reasons. His avoidance of the topic created a distance between us, yet I decided not to push it further. 3 years into our relationship, Bobby proposed, and I was over the moon saying yes without hesitation. However, as we started planning our wedding, doubts began to creep in about never having met his family. These worries started to eat away at me, making me question everything about our relationship. I always harbored this nagging thought that Bobby kept me from meeting his family because, in some way, I didn't measure up. This worry began to gnaw at me, bleeding into every facet of my life until I couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. So, I gathered my courage and confronted Bobby directly, seeking the truth behind this mystery. "Can I ask you something a bit personal?" I ventured one day, my curiosity getting the better of me. "Yeah, of course, what's on your mind?" Bobby responded, seemingly open to the discussion. "It's just, I've noticed I've never met any of your family members. Is there a reason for that?" I asked, bracing myself for his answer. Bobby sighed deeply, a shadow passing over his face. "Well, I don't have family in the traditional sense. My dad passed away about a decade ago, and as for my mom," his voice trailed off. "I'm so sorry to hear about your dad," I interjected, offering my sympathies while feeling awkward about prying into such a personal topic. "My mom's around, I guess," he continued somewhat evasively. "We don't talk." "You don't talk to her? May I ask why?" "You don't have to share if it's too much." I pressed gently, realizing the sensitivity of the conversation. "No, it's okay. We're getting married soon, and you should know this," Bobby started, seeming to find some resolve. "We had a massive argument years ago. Honestly, I can't even remember what sparked it. She was always interfering in my life, acting as though she held the moral high ground, constantly criticizing my choices. It got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore. When I confronted her, she called me a disgrace to the family." "That sounds incredibly tough," I sympathized, trying to imagine the pain such words could inflict. "It was at first, but I've moved on. I'm in a much better place now, especially with you in my life." He smiled, squeezing my hand. "But do you ever think about making amends? It's been years, and both of you might have changed," I suggested, hoping for some resolution to his familial strife. "Absolutely not," he said firmly. "You weren't there to see the negativity she brought into my life. I can't let that back in, especially not on our wedding day. If she tries to reach out, I'd rather we just ignore her." "Okay, whatever makes you happy," I agreed reluctantly, hiding my disappointment. Despite my lack of family connections, it saddened me to see Bobby so estranged from his remaining family. I struggled to understand his perspective, but just a few days later, Bobby left for a business trip, giving me some space to process everything. During the quiet moments following our conversation about Bobby's estrangement from his family, I found myself coming to terms with a future that felt surprisingly unconventional. Our life together, marked by a distinct absence of family traditions, didn't seem so daunting anymore. And so, we celebrated our union in an intimate ceremony, surrounded by close friends who had become our chosen family. Over the next couple of years, we threw ourselves into our careers and each other, achieving professional success, and enjoying the freedom to explore the world together. Those travels and shared experiences brought us closer, filling our lives with joy and adventure. As we neared our 3rd anniversary, the topic of starting a family began to surface. Initially, the thought made me hesitant. My childhood, marred by loss and instability, left me fearing the worst for any child of mine. And with Bobby's family out of the picture, the idea seemed even more fraught. But Bobby harbored a deep desire to become a father, a dream he held onto with unwavering conviction. After many heartfelt discussions, I agreed, moved by his enthusiasm and our shared love. We decided I would leave my job to focus on starting our family, a journey that proved more challenging than we anticipated. After 2 years of trying, our persistence was rewarded with the arrival of our son, a moment that redefined happiness for me. Bobby embraced fatherhood with an unmatched dedication, balancing his responsibilities at home and at work with ease. Life seemed almost too perfect, a sentiment that lingered until an unexpected call disrupted our bliss. "Hello?" I answered, puzzled by the unknown caller. "Hi, this is Nicole, Bobby's mother," came the reply, a voice I had never heard but instantly recognized. "Oh, hello! How are you?" "It's nice to finally speak with you," I responded, surprised and cautiously optimistic about this new connection. "I'm fine. I was just wondering when you'll be coming over." Nicole's question caught me off guard. "Coming over? I'm not sure what you mean." "Bobby didn't mention anything about visiting," I replied, confused. "Well, Bobby dropped off your kid here with me, and I need to know when you're picking her up." "I have my plans too," she stated bluntly. This revelation left me stunned. The idea that Bobby had taken our son to meet his mother without telling me, and her mistaken reference to our son as a daughter, opened up a floodgate of questions and concerns. What had prompted Bobby to reconnect with his mother? And why now, without any warning or discussion? Reeling from Nicole's declaration that she had been caring for a child, mistakenly referred to as my daughter when in reality I have a son. For about 5 months, my mind raced. I don't have a daughter, only a son. And wait, how did you even end up with my number? I asked, trying to piece together the bewildering situation. Nicole explained that Bobby had left the child with her, providing a note that included my number for emergencies should he not return in time. This information did nothing to quell my growing confusion and concern. But why would Bobby give you my contact information? And whose child have you been looking after all this time? I pressed further, seeking clarity on the baffling scenario. "I was hoping you could tell me that. He seemed rushed and only left me with this number," she said, her tone suggesting she was as perplexed as I was. Understanding the gravity of the situation, but being unable to intervene directly due to the obvious mix-up, I asked Nicole to keep this conversation between us until I could confront Bobby. She agreed, equally eager for explanations. The possibility that the call could have been a hoax crossed my mind, yet the mention of my husband's name lent it a disconcerting credibility. Attempts to reach Bobby for clarification were futile, his phone remaining unanswered. I busied myself with household tasks to fend off the spiraling thoughts that threatened to consume me, knowing all too well that dwelling on the worst possibilities would only deepen my distress. As I awaited Bobby's return, I reflected on any recent oddities in his behavior. Indeed, there had been subtle changes. His pre-wedding jitters, his unusual working hours, his random late nights, all of which I had brushed off as insignificant at the time. Yet, in the context of Nicole's call, these pieces began to form a worrying puzzle. When Bobby finally came home, I confronted him immediately. "Your mother called me today," I began, watching his reaction closely. "My mother? How did she get your number?" he asked, genuinely surprised. "You gave it to her," I replied, the weight of the situation pressing down on us both. Admitting to having given my number to Nicole when supposedly dropping off our daughter triggered a storm of confusion and frustration within me. "So, you're going to leave me hanging with this puzzle? You expect me to just let this go and sleep without any explanation?" I demanded, unable to hide my agitation. "I'm just really exhausted right now, and this is something big. Let's talk about it when we're both able to handle the discussion," Bobby pleaded, his voice heavy with fatigue. But the thought of waiting, of spending, the night with my mind racing through countless dire possibilities was unbearable. "You think I can just switch off and sleep without knowing? My mind's already in overdrive imagining the worst. I need something to go on, Bobby. Just tell me," I pressed, my desperation growing. Bobby remained firm though. I can't unpack all of this right now. Please, let's just revisit this tomorrow. I promise we will, he insisted, too tired to engage further. His refusal only fueled my anger and determination. Fine. If you won't tell me, I'll find out myself, I shot back, though he doubted I'd uncover anything on my own. That night was one of the longest of my life. Every inconsequential detail from the past months suddenly seemed like a clue in a grand, unsettling mystery. Even mundane acts like Bobby volunteering for grocery runs now appeared sinister, as if every moment away was an opportunity for deceit. If Nicole was indeed watching a child he fathered, when could this betrayal have occurred? Exhausted and overwhelmed, I finally succumbed to a restless sleep, only to be awakened shortly after dawn by my son. As I prepared his breakfast, the unresolved questions resumed their relentless swirl in my mind. I realized that confronting Bobby directly wasn't yielding the clarity I needed. The only other person who might shed light on this perplexing situation was Nicole. With a mixture of dread and determination, I decided to reach out to her once more, hoping she would provide the pieces missing from this perplexing puzzle. My heart pounded as I dialed her number, silently praying she would pick up and help me navigate through this turmoil. Gathering my resolve, I reminded myself of the stakes at hand, not just for my peace of mind, but for the well-being of our son. Hello, Nicole. This is Judy, the one you called yesterday, I began, my voice steadier than I felt. Oh, hello, Judy. Have you managed to uncover anything new? Nicole's voice carried a mix of curiosity and concern. Not really. I tried to bring it up with Bobby, but he brushed it off quickly, I admitted, feeling a mix of frustration and desperation. That sounds just like Bobby, always sidestepping difficult conversations, Nicole observed with a hint of disappointment. Do you want me to talk to him for you? No, I need to hear it from him directly. But could you possibly tell me more about the argument that caused such a long silence between you two? He made it seem like you hadn't talked for years, I ventured, hoping for some insight. A long silence? We only didn't speak for a few months after our disagreement, Nicole corrected, her response catching me off guard. So, you've been in contact all this time? I asked, the pieces not adding up. Yes, of course. Wait, Bobby didn't want me at your wedding? Nicole sounded genuinely surprised, and a sense of dread began to form in my stomach. He told me you weren't around. That's not the only inconsistency. Whenever I brought up meeting you, he'd invent reasons why it couldn't happen. He said you were either too busy, out of town, or that you two had a massive fallout, I explained, the web of lies starting to unravel. We never had such a serious fight that would cause us not to talk for years. I can assure you of that. Nicole's voice was firm, and it dawned on me just how manipulated I had been. All those lies made me see you in a negative light, which is why I never pushed to meet you. He said you were always judging him, which led him to cut you off, I continued, sharing the narrative Bobby had spun for me. That's hurtful. I'm sorry you were caught up in this, Nicole apologized, though the fault was not hers to own. Returning to my initial question with a heavy heart, I asked about the cause of their past conflict. Nicole revealed that the dispute was over. Bobby cheating on a previous long-term girlfriend, a revelation she had made to the girlfriend, which ended their relationship and led to a fallout with Bobby. The possibility that Bobby could be repeating his past behaviors loomed large in my mind. Do you think he's cheating on me now? I asked, dreading the answer. I can't say for sure, sweetie, but given his history, I wouldn't dismiss the possibility. Nicole's honesty, though painful, was a catalyst for action. Armed with this new information, I resolved to confront the situation head-on, determined to uncover the truth behind Bobby's web of lies and deceit. As Nicole reassured me of her support and willingness to keep communication lines open for the sake of our son and me, I felt a small comfort amidst the chaos unraveling around me. Her offer to help was a beacon in the storm that had become my life. Thank you so much, I managed to say, my mind still reeling from the revelations. The truth that emerged painted a stark contrast to the life I thought I shared with Bobby. Our entire relationship, it seemed, was founded on a web of deceit. What drove him to construct such an intricate facade? Did I inadvertently push him towards this path of lies? The depth of his deception, extending even to his mother, baffled me. He manipulated our perceptions to ensure we remain estranged, preventing any chance of us uncovering the truth through each other. I spent the day lost in thought, reviewing every detail of our past, searching for missed signs of his dishonesty. However, no clear evidence of his lies came to light, leaving me with more questions than answers. The existence of another child, as Nicole described, suggested an affair, yet I struggled to pinpoint when Bobby could have possibly strayed. The notion that Bobby might have fathered a child with another woman filled me with a profound sense of betrayal, not just for myself, but for our son. The idea of raising a child in the shadow of such deceit was unbearable. Despite my resolve to leave if Bobby had indeed been unfaithful, a sliver of hope remained. I clung to the possibility that the child's existence might be the result of a sperm donation, a scenario I encountered during my frantic online research for explanations. When Bobby returned that evening, I couldn't hold back my need for the truth any longer. "I talked to your mother again," I confronted him, my patience worn thin by his evasions. "Why are you doing this?" "I asked her not to talk to you," Bobby responded, a mix of frustration and guilt in his voice. "Because I want answers, Bobby. And your constant avoidance makes me think you're hiding something," I pressed, demanding transparency. He attempted to defend himself, but the discrepancies in his stories only fueled my suspicion. The lies about eloping, the false accusations against his mother, it all crumbled under the weight of his deception about an affair just months before our marriage. Bobby confessed to a fleeting encounter during a business trip, an admission that only served to deepen the chasm of trust between us. His excuses, his fear of losing me, did nothing to mitigate the betrayal. The realization that he never intended for me to discover the truth was a bitter pill to swallow. As Bobby scrambled to justify his actions, I was left to grapple with the consequences of his deceit. The fabric of our life together, once woven with trust and love, now lay in tatters at our feet. In a moment of overwhelming betrayal, Bobby tried to explain away the hurtful secrets he had kept from me, including a child from an affair. The shock of his admission left me speechless. "This is beyond belief. How could you think keeping this from me was okay?" I asked, the pain in my voice palpable. Bobby attempted to reassure me, claiming his faithfulness remained intact despite his involvement in his child's life, an arrangement that involved his mother babysitting. But his words offered no solace. "I need time away from you. This is too much," I said. "My decision is firm." He pleaded with me not to leave, promising transparency in the future. But the trust was shattered. "How can I believe anything you say now? You've deceived me in the most hurtful way possible, and I can't stay with you," I declared, my heart heavy with the decision to take our son and leave. As I prepared to leave, Bobby's desperation grew, but so did my resolve. I had envisioned a family built on love and honesty, but Bobby's actions had irrevocably damaged that dream. Packing our belongings, I left with our son, ignoring Bobby's tearful pleas. Seeking refuge, I turned to Nicole, who had shown me kindness and support. She welcomed us, providing the comfort and understanding I desperately needed during this tumultuous time. Her home became a sanctuary, where I could begin to heal from the betrayal and contemplate our future. Bobby, unable to respect my need for space, sought me out at Nicole's, but she stood as a protective barrier, ensuring I could recover in peace. Through it all, Nicole was a pillar of strength, offering guidance and emotional support as I navigated the painful process of moving forward. This chapter of my life was marked by betrayal, but also by the discovery of unwavering support from an unexpected ally. Nicole's kindness reminded me of the resilience of the human spirit and the healing power of compassion. Nicole became my rock during this turbulent time, ensuring Bobby couldn't disrupt the sanctuary she provided. She was instrumental in helping me secure a competent divorce attorney who stood by me as I navigated the complexities of divorce and fought for the custody of our son. Despite Bobby's attempts to use the legal proceedings as a way to maintain contact, I kept communication strictly through my lawyer. In the courtroom, the truth of Bobby's actions didn't portray him in a favorable light, resulting in a judgment that required him to provide both alimony and child support. In terms of custody, the court granted Bobby visitation rights for 1 weekend a month. While I had reservations about their relationship, I believed it was important for my son not to lose contact with his father entirely. I decided to wait until my son was older before explaining the situation, allowing him to form his own opinions about his father. Bobby's reaction was one of profound regret, and he attempted to reach out to me through Nicole. However, Nicole shielded me from these attempts, ensuring that my request for space was respected. Eventually, I learned that Bobby had moved in with the mother of his other child, a decision that closed a chapter in our lives. The aftermath of these revelations and the ensuing divorce necessitated a period of intensive therapy for me. It was a journey of self-discovery and healing, one that taught me resilience and the importance of emotional well-being. After months of reflection and growth, I've reached a place where I can openly discuss my experiences. Sharing my story is not only a step towards my healing, but also a hope that it might support others going through similar trials. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my story.